All right, we're going to continue on from what we did in the last video. What I had done is I had brought my sketch into Photoshop. I had onion skinned it with a layer that's about 70% opaque white. It's like a tracing paper layer. And then I used my brush tool with black, with smoothing on, and I used the pressure sensitive, hard round pressure size brush, just one of the basic brushes at the top. If you want a technical brush that no matter how hard you press, it will always be the same width, you just use the hard round. But I like this one to give you a little bit more variation to the line weight. And now I have this, and I saved it as a test, as a PNG, because now I'm going to show you how you can turn that into a vector. Okay, so I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to open it with Adobe Illustrator. So those of you who want to do your digital inking entirely within a raster program, Photoshop, Photopea, Clip Studio, that kind of thing, you need to be able to then bring your clean line art at a pretty high resolution into Adobe Illustrator. And just like we've seen before with Illustrator, when I look at it and I select it, this is rasterized. I'm going to zoom in here. It's going to keep wanting to go to the middle of the full thing, which is annoying. But this is pixel based. I want to show you the actual pixels. Let's keep having to drag to it. So you can start to see those pixels now, right? And that's not what we want. We want it to be a clean vector. So this is how we can do what's called vectorizing it. First you click it, so you can see the full size of the image. Then you're going to click on Properties. And then you're going to go to Image Trace. And then you're going to choose the only setting we'll use in this class, which is black and white logo, because it gives us the most intuitive controls. Now the problem is it's vectorizing it. It's just showing us a preview right now, but you can see how now everything's a smooth vector. There's no more pixels. So if that's what I want, I hit expand. But the problem is, you see how it's black and white? So if I drag it off to the gray, there's white shapes and black shapes. I don't want that. I want just black. Just black line art. So I need to open up these advanced options before I hit expand. And under those advanced options, this is where I can play with it being thicker or thinner. If I want it to be less thick, I'll take the threshold down. If I want it to be thicker, I'll take the threshold up and it will preview it for me. And then I can go to the advanced options and I can even say I want it to be less detailed, more smoothed out, all those kinds of things. But the most important thing I have to do in these advanced settings is I have to click on Ignore the background color. And once I do that, then it will just be black vectors only. Okay? Then once I'm happy with it, I can hit expand, and it turns my black line art into a vector. And once it's a vector, then I can modify it. So if there's little things like that, I can use my eraser. First, let me select it so I see the anchor points. Then I can use my eraser, make my eraser really small. Just like we did back with our vector project. And I'm going to clean up in there, clean up in here. Now here's the problem with vectorizing or image tracing. There'll be a lot of little things to correct. My favorite tool, of course, is the pencil tool. You can set the pencil tool to be more smooth and accurate. And once you see the anchor points, then you can redraw them. But sometimes when you vectorize, it will oversimplify things. Sometimes it will just make things look weird and bad. So you have to know how to be able to edit them. But all in all, you can see how that's a pretty nice rendition with just little flaws of what I did in Photoshop. So that is how you turn it into a vector. And then you would save it as an EPS, you'd save it as an SVG, you'd save it as an AI. Now I'm going to show you my preferred method, which is not to ink it in Photoshop, but to ink it entirely in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm not going to save that. But what I'm going to do first is make sure that I'm happy with everything in the sketch so that I don't have extra work after to fix it in Illustrator. So what can you do as soon as you bring your sketch in? I'm going to unlock these. Is what I would recommend is you duplicate your sketch and then you play with the warp tool. So Command T to free transform, right click inside the transform box, warp it, and then you can kind of push and pull your sketch and play with its proportions. Like I want this foot to be really big in the foreground. Like he's going to stomp on that patrol car. And so I can use warp to kind of make that foot bigger in the image. And if I need to, I can use my compositing skills to like take this foot, this whole section of it, I can duplicate it, Command J, then transform it, make it even bigger. So it kind of looks like it's coming out towards us. I can say, you know what, I don't like this little fin there. Why don't I just draw in the fin back here and like that. So you can alter your sketch. I can even just erase it out there. All right. So once you're happy with your sketch, I have to ask myself, do I like that better than this? You know, as a shape. And I think I kind of want halfway between. So what I'm going to do is hold down Option and then say Layer, Merge Visible. So what I'm saying is take advantage of the digital nature. Once you've digitized your sketch, make little changes to it so you're even more confident when you ink it. It's kind of refining it. It's going to slim it down a little bit again. Yeah, but I think I like that better than that because there's more emphasis on that foot and that kind of movement. All right, now that I'm happy with it, I'm going to say File and then Save As. I'll just save a copy. This is going to be my Karl Assignment 5 sketch. Let's call it Kermit to the desktop as a JPEG. Doesn't matter if it's a JPEG or a PNG. I showed you that before. It's always going to fill it in with white when we vectorize it. And instead of inking it within Photoshop, I'm now going to take this, which was the first thing that I uploaded to Canvas, right, my sketch, and I'm going to open it with Adobe Illustrator. So this is digital inking within Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to turn off Photoshop. Don't need it. Come on. Okay. And I don't need image trace. I'm not going to trace this as a vector. What would happen if I tried to trace this as a vector? I guess I should probably show you. Because wouldn't it be nice if we could just turn our pencil sketch into our vector without ever having to ink? But if I do image trace and then black and white logo, and then do the advanced options, because pencil is a powder, right? This is kind of what it's going to look like. Even if I spend a lot of time working with these to try to get it cleaner, there would be so much I'd have to go in and clean up. unless I really like that kind of jaggedy look. So instead of that, come on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to onion skin my sketch. So I'm going to label this my sketch, that layer, and then I'm going to dim the image. You get this by double clicking on the layer. I'm going to dim the image to only 30%. Then I'm going to lock that sketch layer. And I build a layer on top of it. This will be for my vector inking. And I'm going to use the brush tool, but not the paintbrush tool, because that's a stroke tool. I don't want that. I want the blob brush tool. And then for the blob brush, I want it to be black. Select the color in the fill. I want it to be a solid black fill. And then I can try it, just like in Photoshop. I can see I'm using a tablet. I can see how responsive it is. If I double click on the blob brush, this gets me all the settings. I can set it to be more smooth than accurate. That's like having smoothing on in Photoshop. And I can set it to be pressure sensitive in its size. So I think I want my size to be just a little bit bigger. And I want that variation to be the full variation. And now I'm going to try it out. So this is basically the same line width I was using in Photoshop. But you see how it cleans it up. And this way, I don't ever have to clean up the vector after the fact. I simply make the vector I want as I go. And I can still clean it up. I can still select and delete. And I can do Command Z, but I'm using what's called the Blob brush. Shift B is the shortcut for it. I can zoom in with Command plus. I can hold down spacebar to move around. And then with a really light touch, I can get pretty thin vector lines. And then they clean them up for me. Now the reason I like this more than Photoshop is because the Photoshop smoothing will really slow down your brush. Because Photoshop takes a whole lot of processing power. But vectors are so much more memory efficient that when I ink with a vector line, even though it's smoothing for me as I go, it's more efficient. So I don't feel that lag. Let's see, let me raise this up a little bit. There we go. And I just love how it smooths it out for me. So this is my preferred way to do digital inking. Do a little glare on the window there. If I'm really fancy, I'll do a little inside edge too. This will be nice with the coloring. Maybe a instrument panel and a seat. And you can even do a little shading. With the blob brush. Now, why is it called the blob brush? It's because if I hold down Command and I click on one of these connected lines, you see every time I draw on top of it, it adds it to the anchor points below. So I'm not making a ton of different paths. It's blobbing together so that everything becomes one, just like puddles of ink. So I don't need to use Pathfinder. It all kind of combines as I go. and I want to